Hi there, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel dedicated not only to my 2012 Jeep Rubicon, but to Jeeps in general. Today, we took the trail up Limestone Mountain and it was absolutely amazing.
The morning started early. Corey's teenage daughters were tagging along for this adventure. We caravanned with a small group from Edmonton to our first meeting point, which was the Clearwater Trading Post in Caroline, Alberta. 20 minutes after leaving Caroline, the paved roads turned to gravel. We had to endure this dust for the next hour. We stopped at the Cowship Meadow, whose pungent aroma was easily overshadowed by the spectacular view. Just be careful where you drive, or step for that matter. One piece of advice I can offer anyone coming to Limestone: enter from the Sundry side, not Caroline. This will knock an hour of dust-infested gravel roads off your trip. As we exited the meadow, a debate was raging between Corey and his daughters.
That's mud, not poop. I'm pretty sure.
We are finally nearing the end of the gravel roads. We arrived at our de facto staging area. This is where most of us decided to air down. Airing down is a great time to meet the people in your group.
I am a system administrator at the lead core. The other cores, they always loved, because I share my videos, my pictures with them as well, and they loved it.
Aside from the dust, everyone was really enjoying this trail so far. And the spot we were parked at for our air down and trail prep was pretty spectacular.
Quiet places. I love nature, so that's why I'm here. And I love, of course, Jeep thing.
Once those who chose to air down were ready, we started our climb up the mountain. The Limestone Mountain Lookout Road wasn't quite what I was expecting. It was wide and smooth. I'm suddenly reminded of an old Sunday school story about the wide and easy path. Anyways, the area was being actively logged, and as we continued our climb, evidence of the logging activity presented itself. We turned off of the Limestone Mountain Lookout Road, and the path quickly narrowed and resembled a riverbed more than a road now. It was slowly starting to turn into an off-road trail. Terrain like this is the main reason why we air down. The tires are a lot more forgiving at 19 psi. The trail narrowed and the grade increased. The trees were gradually thinning to reveal one of Alberta's most spectacular mountain views. The view was absolutely amazing, and yet Corey couldn't help but be just a tiny bit disappointed. Not with the view, of course, but we had basically reached our goal for the day. On the overlanding adventures Corey had gone on over the years, some skill and at least some modification was required to reach the goal. That's not the case here at Limestone. That being said, parking at the summit and taking in the splendor of this creation was very satisfying.
The road up was really fun, but it was crazy dusty. The last 2 kilometers was super fun because it was kind of like going over a riverbed. Really, really fun, and we're now at the summit.
Even though the trail visibly continues, it was barricaded off and under guard by conservation officials. There have been fatalities on the Mountain's Edge Trail, and there is also a nature preserve, so only official vehicles are permitted beyond this point.
This is one of my favorite trails. It's close to home. The view is amazing. It's not terribly difficult, but it's challenging enough. yeah, I mean, the view alone is worth it, so.
Kendale, who used to grace these trails in her bright yellow JK, known as Dandelion, has made some changes since we last saw her.
It's a 22 Rubicon, turbo, it's got the turbo engine, automatic, full load everything. I always said if I was getting a new Jeep, it would be a Rubicon, because why not? If you're going to spend that kind of money on something, right? So she's limited edition Tuscadero pink. Her name is Brat. Name came to me on my way driving her home, and she's definitely lived up to it.
Kendale also runs a Facebook group, and it has drawn in over 1,000 members in just a couple of years,
So at
including
that time I was just
Abrar.
looking at Facebook and I saw some Jeep and stuff. So I just tried to look into the groups, and yes, yeah, that was fun. That's how I got into that. It's an amazing place, amazing view. And this is my 5th time I'm here, and I always want to come here. Even like if I have to some time, like I've got to do the barbecue here, and it's a very nice place. I loved it. Every time when I come here, it seems like I came here for the first time.
Even though we reached our goal, the summit of Limestone Mountain, our adventure was just getting started. We would be heading into the valley below, way below. Corey's slight disappointment at the ease of our trip so far was wiped out by this steep descent. While not overly technical, this descent does need a bit of attention. Most of these rocks are sharp enough to slice through even the strongest of sidewalls. At over 30 degrees of incline, this descent was not for the faint of heart.
She'd be terrified.
Would she be crying by now?
Yeah.
Corey's wife just isn't really into the overlanding scene, and he really wasn't sure how his daughter would react to this trail. But so far, they appeared to be having fun.
I don't know how you talked her into doing the one time.
Well, that was a super easy one.
The descent was following a utility corridor, and it was slow going. Even with this massive angle, it really didn't feel all that steep. That was until we saw it from the bottom. This film cannot do this justice. You really have to witness this in person. But this was the first leg of our descent.
Not bad.
Was Abrar, who didn't air down, starting to regret his decision?
I never did ear down.
He's a rebel.
Longer wheelbases and the stock nature of the JLs on this adventure meant that a bit of fuel tank skid plate material would be left on the trail. Even though we were on a massive descent, there were a few sections that were uphill. Or was it just that we were so used to such steep angles that this section was actually level? We continued to follow the power lines into the valley. It started to get a bit wet down here.
Whoa. Look at that.
We did a simple little water crossing and we're nearing the end of our journey into the valley. Given that we were only about 200 meters from linking back up to the Limestone Mountain Lookout Road, Abrar opted to make a daring move through the field of muskeg. His stock Sahara quickly showed its limitations. The lack of locking diffs, tires that weren't aired down, and the lack of a lift didn't help in the mud pit Abrar has found himself in. He would need not one, not two, but 3 recoveries. And still, he was hell-bent on making it back onto the logging road. Eventually, we talked reason into it. Plus, Corey told him he wasn't going to pull him out a 4th time.
So way up there is where we came from.
Yep.
We had reached the end of the trail and the caravan of Jeeps turned around. The ascent was so much easier on drivers and passengers alike. Being sucked back into our seats was a lot easier on the body than bracing oneself on the steering wheel, or even the holy shit bar on the dash. Even though this trail started out a bit too easy for Corey's liking, this descent was about the most fun he's ever had off-roading. He really didn't want it to end. I don't think Ruby wanted it to end either. Upon completing the final ascent, it was time to take a good look at Abrar's JL. While the official score was Muskeg 3, Abrar 0, after surveying his Mudcake Jeep, I think the Muskeg was much further ahead than just 3 points.
I did it.
Did what?
Our adventure was at an end. This is the part I never really like. But what exactly did the teenagers think of this crazy adventure?
The trail was fun. I liked the mud. It's a cult. A Jeep cult. A bunch of people that just meet together and do Jeep stuff, and they have this hand signal they wave to other Jeeps. It's a cult.
Chewy's logic is hard to argue. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is a cult. It has all the telltale signs of being one. Secret handshake, a wave in our case. We have weird rituals that don't make a lot of sense to pretty much anyone else, like climbing up the side of a mountain. And we donate stupid amounts of money to our beloved Jeeps. Yep, it's a cult. But it's a super fun cult. One that brings people from all walks of life together to enjoy our amazing province. And this is one of the most spectacular areas you can explore in the Alberta Rockies. Limestone Mountain needs to be on your bucket list of trails to do before you die.